Claudine High Craft Foods. I'm Rachel Collins from Dubuque, Iowa. Today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my family's favorite entrees that we make right around the Thanksgiving time of year. We really created this recipe because my family loves apples, we really love pork, and we're kind of tired of the basic ham around Thanksgiving or the basic turkey. So my mom and I sat in the kitchen together and started to think of different ways that we could really dress up a piece of pork or a piece of ham. And we came up with this really great recipe where it is a cream cheese flavored thick cut pork chop seasoned with a sauce that's made of butter, brown sugar, Granny Smith apples, a little bit of nutmeg. So I'm just dicing here a couple of Granny Smith apples that we're going to dress with a little bit of lemon juice to keep from the apple turning brown. So I've got 3 Granny Smith apples that I'm just cutting here real quick for us. And, you know, if they don't have Granny Smith at your grocery store, go ahead and use a Gala apple or a Pink Lady. Those are really great, firm apples that you can definitely be using. So I just finished cutting up the rest of that apple that I had here. And I'm just really going to take a half of a lemon here and just really dress the apple with this lemon juice to keep the apple from turning brown when it comes into contact with the air. The acidity from the lime or the lemon is really just going to help keep all the white, nice flesh together on this Granny Smith apple. All right, so on the stove I've got 2 pans that are heating. This first pan, I'm going to go ahead and throw 1 whole stick of butter that I have just chunked up into about tablespoon size. And I'm really going to let that start to melt down in the pan before I add my brown sugar. So my family really isn't, really big on sweets at all. We don't do a lot of cookies or a lot of pies around Thanksgiving or Christmas time, but we do really like brown sugar. And love of brown sugar really came up while we were making oatmeal when we were young kids. We weren't allowed to have sugar on our cereal. We weren't allowed to put, chocolate syrup in any of our milk for extra flavoring. But the one type of sweet that we were always allowed to eat growing up was brown sugar. And we always, always, always threw it in our oatmeal. So when we were playing around with this recipe, my mom and I, of course, we thought that brown sugar needed to be one of the main ingredients in this dish. Really just to bring the tartness from the apples together and the flavors of the pork together, just helping to marry it a little bit. Alright, I'm just going to move this aside a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and start to get my pork butterflied. So you're just going to go ahead and kind of insert your knife about halfway through this pork. Really trying to make kind of a deep pocket so that when you open it, you get a really nice thin piece on each side. And just like that. Perfect. Alright, so I just finished butterflying my last pork chop. And you can see right here in the middle, we've got that really nice thin piece on both sides. And the cut is really deep into the pork. I'm just going to go ahead and season both sides of the pork chops with a little bit of salt. And then on the inside, I'm going to use this new Philadelphia cooking cream. So I'm just going to spoon that in right on the inside of the pork chop. And I'll show you right here on this one. Ooh, I'm losing the cream. Alright, just going to spoon it in. Really make sure that it gets all the way to the back of that cut on that pork chop. I'm just going to close it up a little bit. So I just gave my hands a quick wash and I'm just putting some cracked black pepper on these pork chops. And I've got a pan over here on the stove that's been heating at about medium-high heat. And I'm just going to go ahead and transfer these pork chops right over to the hot pan. with the pepper side facing down. Oh, listen to that nice sizzle. Now these are going to go ahead and cook for anywhere between 5 to 7 minutes on each side, or until the center of the pork chop isn't pink anymore. So over here in my pan, I've got all that melted butter. And I'm going to go ahead now and add some of my brown sugar, just about half a cup. And I'm going to give that a really nice stir in the pan just to melt some of that brown sugar even just a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and add then the rest of my apples to the saucepan. Just going to turn up the heat a little bit and let these cook down. I'm going to go ahead and throw a lid on it for about 5 to 8 minutes. We'll flip the pork chops and then I'll give these a stir again. Alright, so the pork is just about finished here. You can see it's got some of that really nice golden color on it. And the apples have just been simmering with the butter and the brown sugar now for about 15 to 20 minutes. So you can see they're really, really soft. I'm just going to go ahead and add the rest of that cup of brown sugar in to make it even a little bit creamier. Give it a really nice dark brown color. And I'm going to crank up the heat a little bit so I can reduce the sauce and make it almost into a really nice glaze and syrup. While this is just starting to heat up, I'm going to grab a little bit of nutmeg. So I've always been a fan of nutmeg. It smells so good and so fragrant. I'm just going to go ahead and put just a little bit in. Just, whoa, I'm losing it. Just to give it that wow factor. And just a little bit will really go a long way. And I'm just losing the nutmeg in the apple mixture, as you can see. Alright, just give that a nice little stir. Mix that nutmeg in. Alright, so the pork has been cooking on each side now for about 10 minutes. Each side has been seasoned really well with salt and pepper. And I'm just going to go ahead and plate a pork chop here with some of that apple marinade or apple sauce that I simmered with some butter, a little bit of nutmeg, and some brown sugar. I'm just going to pour that right over the top. It's going to give it some really nice color and really nice flavor. You know, as I said before, apples were a wonderful, wonderful fruit for us to eat growing up. It just brought a lot of memories to my family, to my dad, to my mom. And it's something that I can just really relate to. You know, an apple brings back a lot of really good memories from the holidays and just nights when the whole family was home. So here we go. We've got a wonderful pork chop that's been seasoned in the middle with some of that wonderful new Philadelphia cream cheese that they've got, and it's topped off with some beautiful green Granny Smith apples that have been simmered with some brown sugar and some butter and a little bit of nutmeg. I'm just going to cut into it and we'll take a look and see how it is. Take a look at that color. Beautiful.